Hi everyone, this is Judith Dreyer. Thank you for joining me for this podcast series, At the Garden's Gate Presents The Holistic Nature of Us. My intent is to take us, you and I, into a better understanding of the concepts behind our holistic nature and how that ties directly to the holistic nature of the world around us. How can we connect the dots in practical ways that we are nature and nature is in us? I will be featuring authors and educators, practitioners, and others whose passion for this earth helps us create bridges. We'll see what's trending, what's relevant to our world today, not just for land use, but to connect the dots between ourselves and nature. It's time for practical action and profound interchange so our natural world is valued once again. Today, I'm delighted to introduce you to Lynne Hartwell. She comes to us with a variety of holistic experiences. She's an alternative medicine practitioner and psychic intuitive, certified in several modalities including vibrational sound healing, aromatherapy, and more. Hi, Lynne. Welcome to my show, Holistic Nature of Us. It's so good to have you here.
Hi, Judith, and thank you so much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be joining you today.
Great. Well, let's dig into the topic at hand. I'm always interested in alternative medicine and what practitioners are doing. So tell us about your interest in alternative medicine.
Well, the main draw for me in alternative medicine has been pretty much as far back as I can remember. As a child, I was just intuitively fascinated by the natural world. I felt a connection with the earth, the stones, animals, plants, even insects, and I could see a connection between the sky and the air and the water and how everything affects each other. I couldn't explain it. There are parts that I couldn't understand. But I just felt like everything was connected to each other and that I had a deep connection to everything that was in with my world. And I also knew that certain remedies could be found in nature. Again, I couldn't explain how. I was just a kid. And trying to explain this to adults, they're just like, oh, it's your overactive imagination. No, pick up this stone. Your headache will go away.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And thank goodness I'm a Leo, because we're stubborn, we're driven, and we don't usually take no as an answer. But I learned around certain audiences that I had to kind of keep things to myself, but I never gave up on my connection with nature and being in nature. And as I grew into an adult, there started to be a wealth of these classes, and I could actually learn more, and I could actually connect the dots between how a quartz crystal can activate certain meridians in your body and help energize you. And I took biology, I took science classes. I could actually bring in the explanation of the aura. It's not just hocus pocus, and yes, we do have electronic devices that actually view the aura and the colors, but that I could explain what is the aura, the bioelectric fields that the body gives off as a result of being alive. The heart pumping gives off an electronic frequency, and that can be seen as a color. So I loved the ability to be able to explain the why, and then to take that information and explain it to clients so that they can understand the why a certain organ is not functioning properly, and then how to use and connect natural healing remedies, and they could start feeling the difference.
That's very cool. And alternative medicine, which some folks don't realize, means using an alternative to conventional medicine.
Yes.
So we often go that route when we feel very ill and we're not getting results or not healing fast enough, and so we start to step outside of the box. And they're valid. And as you mentioned, science is proving how many of these modalities are actually quite valid in our healing process. So being in the alternative medical world, what do you feel is the most important issue facing holistic care today?
I would say, first and foremost, is education. It is educating the public, because still there's so many people who know nothing of alternative medicine, or they're very fearful of it because they're only hearing one side and they're not understanding what it is. It is also educating the medical profession, because we're not competition for them, and we're not hocus pocus. We are a legitimate healing practicum. We're complementary to their practices. We are not, like I said before, we're not in competition, and we're not here to just solely be the only solution. We are in addition to, or we are another source of healing when all other, basically for somebody who uses Western medicine, when all other solutions for them fail, or they're just not getting enough healing. They're getting most of the way there. There are other solutions of a natural-based manner that can work for them.
I agree. I don't know if you are aware of this, but I taught holistic health studies at WestConn for a number of years.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me how many medical practitioners are not aware of or have misinformation about some of these practices. So I think it's great that you're in the community and you have the science to back you up. And the desire to not only educate the public but the medical community as well, because there's many spokes on a wheel and they all go to the center. And if we just realize that, we could see our interconnection, whether it's Western medicine, Eastern medicine, alternative medicine, they all have the same goal, and that's to bring healing to us as an individual.
Yes, and what's most important is bridging these gaps so that the healing can reach the people who are in greatest need of it.
Correct. I agree with you, Lynne. But let's go back to nature. You mentioned what life was like for you when you were little. You had this great love of nature in its many different aspects. As a child, and as you grew up, you've continued your education on that level. What does having a partnership with nature mean to you? Today, I should add today.
Actually, Judith, it's never changed for me. It is all about listening in, because communicating with nature, communing with nature, whatever words you want to use, it really is about connecting your soul, your mind, and your emotional state of being back to a natural source. Our DNA and the very cells in our body are designed, their frequencies are designed to be in connection with natural frequencies. The earth. We're meant to be lying on the earth, not lying in a bed, separated by an artificial floor, or maybe several floors from the earth itself. Our ancestors were touching the earth. They were walking on the earth on bare feet, or very thin soles that were made out of a natural material. So they were still in connection with the vibration of a plant or an animal that material is made from. They were consistently, all their tools came from nature. So they were touching and holding these natural vibrations, which match and align with their own vibrations within their bodies. To be in these artificial surroundings, it is foreign to our bodies, so they start causing blocks. So for me, being out in nature means that I get away from the electrical apparatuses. I get away from the artificial frequencies and vibrations and scents and smells, and I get back to something that my body actually can recognize and can actually help itself open up blocked passageways within my body, release stress. I can start feeling normal again. I can start feeling myself. And there's so many times where we feel kind of lost or stressed, or we're just kind of, just really getting anxious or just kind of losing touch or losing connection. Our minds are getting foggy or what have you. And when we go out in nature, we feel better. We can relax a little bit more. We can think more clearly. And this is, for me, the reason why nature is so important. And my partnership with it just means that I need to be out on it. I need to be touching a tree or walking upon the earth, smelling the nature or natural smells, being exposed to that energy.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And fortunately, again, science is trying to prove that to us. For example, we have the Heart Math Institute, that it can actually measure the frequency of our heart vibration, and we can see how that impacts each other, and it impacts each other far more than we possibly could imagine, and the technology is supporting that. But they're also measuring the heartbeat of the earth as well, which I think is absolutely fascinating. But secondly, my native elders always said, spend 15 minutes bare feet on the ground every day that you can. And I think what you just said supports that same principle. So now we have a movement called grounding. We actually have to have these fancy videos that tell us to go lay on the ground every day. And, I just laugh when I see it, because that's what we should be doing or getting back to anyway. And then we have another body of research coming out. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Jack Kruse, but he's doing some amazing work with sunlight on our cell, the mitochondria, the electron transport, and how important sunlight is. I'm not talking about going out in the middle of the day and staring at the sun, but the angle of the sun, the first thing in the morning, sets different frequencies up in our brain. He happens to be a neurosurgeon, so you're not talking about woo-woo stuff. You're talking about very deep, maybe alternative research that's going to, I think, be the medicine of the future, if we can follow that, his body of research for alignment.
Right.
Well, so we talked about grounding, we talked about connection, we talked about listening. For me, all of those support having a holistic relationship with the earth. Because if we listen to our deep self, we're a better person, right? If we understand our connectedness with each other, we get along better, and that translates into taking care of the earth better. So sustainability, reverence, the intelligence in us, the intelligence in nature, and last but not least is our deep intuitive knowing. And I know you have a lot to say about that. You're an intuitive yourself, you're on nature a lot. Is there anything you could share on that level?
Well, as far as intuitive, as far as tapping in, when you're out in nature, observe it. Even touch it. Touch a tree. And then just stop, refocus your mind on how does the bark feel? Or just breathe and just allow yourself to just feel the changes and shifts within your own body. And the more that you do things like that, or just sitting on the ground, and again, switch your mind off by refocusing your thoughts to listening to the sounds of nature around you, or what scent can you smell, or looking around you, what colors do you notice, what other parts of the environment do you notice. Just doing simple things like that help us with really connecting more deeply.
And also those practices help us turn off the monkey mind, so to speak. That incessant chatter that we all have in our mind just by going out and perhaps approaching our hike a little differently, or our morning walk a little differently. Again, my native elders would tell me to go and find a sit spot, a consistent spot in the morning and in the evening, and just sit for 20 minutes on the earth, twice a day, at sunrise and at sunset. And it doesn't mean anything major happened, but I think that's what we get used to in our society. We get used to this constant data coming at us, whereas the earth teaches us to slow down and things come a lot more slowly. And that,
Right.
as you mentioned right in the beginning, helps us to realign, right?
Realign and unplug.
Yes. Right.
And as you've mentioned, and that was a very poignant part of mentioning about nature has a heartbeat. And when we unplug and we sit down or we listen in, what we're doing is that we're realigning to that heartbeat that every DNA, every strand of DNA, every cell in our body is aligned to. And that's where we feel more a part of ourselves. So especially for people who feel lost a lot in their lives and their direction, spend some time out in nature. Reconnect like that and see how you start feeling after a week, 2 weeks, a month. You're going to be experiencing much different points of view. You're going to be thinking differently. You're going to be feeling differently.
Well, I agree with you. I think those are great suggestions for our listeners today to take in on their reflection time, to see how they can bring more nature into their lives in a way that's not data-driven. I keep wanting to say that because we're so overloaded with data and information. But a way, like you said, to unplug from all of that, which gets us breathing easier and kind of turns down the chatter. I feel when I go outside such a relief from something. It's hard to name because we're so overloaded with our electronics, and it's only getting worse in a way. The electronic frequencies are impacting us in ways that our technology is not addressed in its development. So, all right. Well, Lynne, can you give us, you've given us such great tips already. Can you either summarize them or give us a couple of very practical tips?
Yes, I've got more.
Okay.
But one of the things that I work with either in workshops or with clients, private sessions, discussions, I always have takeaways. And they're simple, easy tips that anybody can use, and they work. And one of the takeaways is breathe. No matter where you are, what you're doing, if you're finding yourself kind of getting caught up or you've got the monkey mind going in overload and you can't think straight, or you're having difficulties breathing, or you're beginning to get into a panic attack, what have you, even if you're not, try 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, maybe sometime in the middle of the day, and at the end of the day before going to bed. Stop what you're doing. Get someplace where you're not going to be disturbed. Sit comfortably. Or you can be, if you can't sit and you have to be standing, then stand comfortably. Focus on your breathing. Slow your breath down. Equal parts inhalation as exhalation. And all you do is breathe nice, deep, and easy for a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes. That's all you need. That's all it takes. You will feel the benefits of slower heartbeat. You're going to be feeling better. You're going to be thinking more clearly, and you're going to be calmer. For many people, they start to feel better or happier. And all you need is 3 to 5 minutes. The monkey mind starts to come back in. You refocus on just breathing. That's all you got to do is just breathe.
I just want to add one thing there.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I was doing counseling myself in the health food industry, I had a lady with cancer who came in, and she was getting very fearful because things were progressing. She wasn't getting good results. And so what worked for her, I had just heard something, I don't know, in my world at that point, but if you focus on 3 breaths, just 3 breaths, you can actually cut the circuit of anxiety. You can actually diminish the circuit of anxiety. And that's all I asked her to do.
Yes.
And
it's amazing.
It is amazing. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah. It's what we don't understand as a society is you refocus your mind on something else, but something else that is calming. Something else that is beneficial for the body, because your body needs time to slow down and take a break. So another way of taking a break, giving your body and mind a break, is to exercise, to go out for those walks in nature daily as much as you can, or meditation. So different things work for different people, but using a meditation, and even just 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day is beneficial. Of course, the more you can put in, give yourself, the better you are. But yoga, practices like Tai Chi, Qigong, are all very good mind, body, spirit connecting exercises. And they really work with changing, switching, and unblocking energy that is stuck within you, stuck within your mind, stuck within your body. They have been proven to help alleviate pain, to boost your emotional system, where you feel more optimistic, happier after you do or continue to do these activities on a daily basis. You reap the benefits of giving your body a break.
Well, that's another great suggestion. And as you and I both know, some of these practices were designed for longevity.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to live a long life on one level is if we decrease the stresses. And these practices help us decrease the physical impact that stress has on our bodies, our physical bodies. And that's what helps us live longer, hopefully.
It's a major, major, major factor. And what I love is that for the past 30 years, and a little bit beyond that, but I've really been hearing the medical profession and medical doctors, I've been seeing it in their documents, in their journals, and the public announcements of reducing stress. And they give methods on how to do so. And this is where we come in. The alternative medicine, the holistic medicine comes in as a complementary practice to what the medical profession does. We give you the how to reduce stress. We give you the how to relax and live better, longer, and with greater joy and mobility.
Well, it's practical action, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Very practical action that can have a profound impact, and that's what I like. We forget, keep it simple, Keep it simple has a great vibration, so to speak, for creating that healthy, vibrant life that we want.
It does. It absolutely does.
Do you have another tip?
Being with people who are positive, people who are basically with you, supporting you, people who love you and care about you, who you are as you are. Being in that vibration is so supportive. And again, as you mentioned before, Judith, about how our heart and our body and our body's energy, how we affect each other. We're affected by nature, or we're affected by artificial items. But we also affect each other energetically. And when you are surrounded or surround yourself with others who are of a higher vibration, positive people, more outgoing people, happier people, but you also surround yourself with people who support and love you for you. That is also a higher vibration, and it helps to lift you up energetically, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And it's so important that we keep ourselves as much as we can in those environments.
I agree. There's a lot of research coming out about that too. You see it in the business literature, not just in the medical, about the positive atmosphere, and it's so nice to see that the business culture is changing into something that's more positive and supportive. And I think the systems that insist on the old paradigm are actually I don't think they're going to do that well. I think people get dissatisfied, they're walking away. They're not going to support them anymore. And yet we have these great new businesses coming in that have a working culture that does just that. You get creative people together with a positive atmosphere. So much more can be done, but we go home and say, hey, I like what I'm doing. And that's what life should be about. We should love what we're doing, on a daily basis instead of a grind. And that's changing, and I'm so happy to see that culture is changing out there.
Yes, that awareness is really becoming more and more widespread, and it is beautiful to see that people are embracing it. They're getting it, and they're actively seeking it, even if they may not know that they're seeking it in the beginning. When they come across it, they're like, aha, that's it. That's what I need in my life.
And it's what I'm wanting in my life.
Exactly.
When we want something like that, I think we end up creating it or finding it, or it finds us, because we're starting to be a match for it, so to speak, on those levels. Lynne, is there anything else you'd like to add?
As far as tips that people can use, or just in general?
Either or, your choice.
I would say, in general, one of the biggest takeaways that anybody can have is when you're feeling that a situation is impossible, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling that this is kind of like a permanent thing, be very mindful of your thinking and your thoughts. Because anything that has been made, and this can even include life-threatening cancers or other life-threatening diseases, life situations where you've lost your job and you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from, you don't know how to pay your bills, etc., etc. Anything that is made, anything that is created can be uncreated. It can be unmade. And your attitude towards a situation is huge in changing the situation, in changing the vibration of what is around you from something more negative, where I'm stuck, this is hopeless, I can't get anywhere. Well, the person who says they can't is correct, but the person who says they can is also correct. And it depends entirely. The difference is your perspective, your attitude, and how you're thinking about a particular situation. So be mindful of your thoughts. Be mindful of how you're approaching a situation. Are you being a little bit too much in the critical or the negative, or holding yourself back by saying, I can't? Or turning around, even if you don't know what the answer solution is yet, by telling yourself, I will find the answer, I will find the solution, I will keep moving forward. That makes a huge difference. And majority, and science can back this up, majority of cancer survivors, for example, all said that I can, I will, and they did. So just keep that in mind.
That's great. Thank you, Lynne. I just so appreciate your practical action, practical application, and
I like that. It has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, we can take it into our daily life, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? To make a change, we have to start with a step, and what's one step that I resonate with that I can bring into my life based on your suggestions? And you gave us several, so I think the listeners would have several to choose from, and I'm really grateful to you for that. So let's tell us about your businesses before we close, and what your contact information. I know the listeners would like to know that, and then we can conclude.
All right. Well, my business is LynneHartwell.com. That's my business website. And my email is the same. It's Lynne, Lynne, Hartwell, Hartwell, @Comcast.net. And what you need to know about my business as an alternative medicine practitioner and psychic intuitive is that I utilize a wealth of information and knowledge coming from natural sources, intuitive sources, and what I'm doing is that I'm custom fitting Each client is coming in with their own story, their own situation, their own background, and that nobody is a cookie cutter. Nobody is the same person. So everything that I do is custom designed to your particular needs. Even if we have multiple sessions, each session is different because you're different on that particular day and time. So what you need, I match with the tools and education and input that I'm getting from the natural world to help you move forward.
Oh, thank you, Lynne. Just so my listeners know, your information will be up on my website when this, podcast is released. And you are a wealth of information, and I know personally that Lynne is very well loved and respected in our community. So I'm so grateful that you are here today. And I hope everyone feels as inspired as I do by all of your practical advice. So on that note, I'd like to conclude today's session. Again, this is Judith Dreyer, author of At the Garden's Gate, book and blog. And my book, At the Garden's Gate, is available through my website. That's judithdreyer.com. I will also be posting a transcript of this podcast as well as the link for this podcast replay on my website. And I'd like to end this session with a quote from Paul Hawken, an environmentalist and author. Sustainability, ensuring the future of life on Earth, is an infinite game, the endless expression on behalf of all. So bye for now and enjoy this beautiful day.